Hi everyone. So we've quite literally succeeded in building a world where speed feels normal and slowing down or a slow life feels wrong. People feel pressured to do more, companies feel pressured to deliver more, and the planet is absorbing the cost of all of it. Yet somehow we've learned to treat this pressure like a virtue. We call it ambition, drive, growth, or hustle. At the same time, we are surrounded by the language of sustainability. Every company has a climate pledge. Every government has a target. Every industry talks about the future. But in reality, our actual behavior is more aligned with urgency, speed, and acceleration at all costs. And before I go any further, let me be very clear. I am not against ambition. I am not against hard work. I'm not against growth. If anything, I'm ambitious myself. And as someone who formally studied sustainability at the University of Toronto, I firmly believe in sustainable growth, especially in the domain of AI. But just not the kind of growth that depletes people, organizations, and the planet in the process. Also, nowhere is this contradiction between hustle culture and sustainable growth more visible than in AI. Every few days, a new model is launched. Every company is racing to adopt AI. And yes, it's great in terms of innovation and building a new era. But it quite literally is creating a lot of panic too. So here's the question I want to explore. What if hustle culture is not just burning out people? What if it's fundamentally incompatible with sustainability itself? So in this video, we'll explore how our psychology of hustle is shaping the world we are building and why it is increasingly becoming unsustainable, and why emotional intelligence may be the missing balancing force, especially as we enter AI era. Also, we look at this across three levels: the personal, the organizational, and the societal, using my signature 3P framework. Let's begin. So if you pay close attention, hustle culture has become a psychological pattern. Everywhere you turn, someone is telling you to speed up, telling you to outwork everyone, or sleep less, or don't waste your 20s, or optimize every minute of your day. Or if you're not moving fast, you're already behind. It's a constant drumbeat. Do more, move faster, don't stop, don't fall behind. And don't get me wrong, I am not saying that productivity, grind, and ambition are not important. But when millions of people internalize this same pace, it does not stay personal. It becomes the psychology of companies, industries, AI development, and even the psychology of entire communities we are part of as a society. Hustle culture asks us to constantly be in that go mode, to chase short-term wins instead of long-term stability. And you know the irony? Most of the people telling you to hustle are exhausted themselves. But the narrative keeps going because it's profitable. And that is the reality of hustle culture today. And I need to say this again. I am not saying that the advice you receive on this topic is not valuable at all. Everyone is trying to help you in the best way possible to survive. But it's just that collectively we've all absorbed this relentless pace without even asking why. And it's not even framed as hustle anymore. It's framed as identity, as if your entire worth is only measured by how much you can squeeze into a day. And that is the real impact on the personal level. You start treating exhaustion as normal. You even glorify it. And the most important part is this: it doesn't leave you with any space to ask whether the life you're building is even aligned with your values, your well-being, and the world you want to live in. And when you lose that capacity, you lose the ability to build toward sustainable, long-term growth. The kind of growth that every real success is actually built on. Because nothing meaningful is ever built on just a few years of non-stop grind. It's built through patience, consistency, and effort that you can sustain. If hustle culture is the personal narrative that we are all absorbing, then organizations are the industrial version of it. In organizations, the same hustle psychology shows up on a bigger scale. Just like individuals chase milestones, companies chase quarters. The logic is the same. Speed is rewarded. And because speed becomes the priority, even well-intentioned plans get sidelined. For example, a company announces a bold sustainability plan, but then cuts the budget for it after a few months. Why? Because the growth targets changed. And AI is the purest expression of this psychology. Every company is racing to adopt AI, often driven more by competitive pressure than long-term necessity. Every boardroom conversation includes this phrase: we need to move faster. It's the same hustle logic, just scaled into technology. And here's the irony: AI could make organizations more thoughtful and strategic, only if the humans using it are emotionally regulated enough to slow down. Emotional intelligence is the pause that helps leaders ask the following questions: what problems does this actually solve for us? And what happens if we slow down by a quarter? That pause helps leaders adopt AI intentionally, instead of reactively or impulsively. And it turns AI from a hype cycle into a sustainable growth advantage. Without emotional intelligence, AI just becomes a new tool for burnout. With emotional intelligence, AI becomes a multiplier for long-term resilience and sustainable growth. That is the difference. Now let's zoom out one more level. Because the same psychology that drives individuals and companies also drives entire societies. At every level, whether it's governments pushing for GDP growth, or corporations pushing for shareholder returns, or tech companies pushing for breakthroughs, the scale might change, but the mindset remains the same. It's the same story, just with bigger numbers. We call it progress, but most of the time, it's just speed without regulation. But every healthy system, whether it's nature or our own bodies, knows when to slow down so it can recover and return to balance. Hustle culture does the opposite. It's the mindset of unlimited expansion. And when that mindset scales into institutions, you get systems that burn out just like people do. Climate collapse, economic volatility, AI advancing faster than we can understand or govern. We are at a turning point. For years, success meant moving faster and scaling bigger. Now the real question is, can we grow without burning everything out? But here's the hopeful part. AI will scale whatever psychology we build it with. If we build it with hustle culture, it will scale hustle culture. If we build it with emotional intelligence, it can scale sustainable growth. That's the future we are choosing between. So time to look at all the 3 Ps together. First of all, through all of my lenses, I've consistently reinforced this message that I am not against growth. I'm just against unsustainable growth that depletes people, organizations, and the planet in the process. So practically, if individuals cannot slow down enough to think long term, they lose the ability to build sustainable growth. Because real success comes from patience, consistency, and effort that you can actually sustain. Profitably, if organizations cannot regulate their urgency, they end up chasing short-term wins instead of building long-term stability. Purposefully, if societies cannot balance growth with sustainability, they end up harming the very planet they depend on. Because speed without balance always extracts more than it restores. At every level, whether it's personal, organizational, or societal, the real issue is the same. When we lose emotional regulation, we lose long-term thinking. And without long-term thinking, nothing sustainable can be built. That's why emotional intelligence is required at every level, for individuals, for organizations, and for society as a whole. As always, the research studies used in this video are linked down below. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep building a better you.